The Lonely Child and the Curious Goat. The village of Marampur was a small world unto itself, tucked between rolling green fields and a silver river that hummed softly at night. The people of Marampur lived simple lives, waking with the sun, working the land, and sleeping under a sky dusted with stars. It was a place where stories clung to every tree and stone, and laughter traveled easily on the wind. Yet for a boy named Ayaan, the days often felt unbearably long and quiet. Ayaan was 7 years old, a thin boy with curious eyes that missed nothing. Ever since his father had passed away the previous year, Ayaan's life had changed in ways he could not fully understand. His mother worked harder than ever, leaving early each morning to tend the fields. Ayaan was left alone for most of the day, wandering the edges of the village, looking for something or someone to fill the empty spaces in his heart. That someone, as it turned out, was a goat. Chandni was not an ordinary goat. She was a small, scrappy creature with a coat as white as fresh milk and a stubborn gleam in her eyes. The villagers knew her well. She was the goat that broke free from ropes, knocked over market stalls, and led other goats into forbidden gardens. Some swore she could unlock gates with her teeth. Children laughed at her antics, but adults cursed her name whenever she caused mischief. Ayaan first noticed Chandni one warm afternoon as he sat beneath a neem tree, tracing shapes in the dirt with a stick. He saw her out of the corner of his eye, a flash of white tangled in the thorny bushes that lined the edge of the path. At first, he thought she was just grazing, but a closer look showed him that Chandni was stuck. Her hind leg was caught in a thick twist of branches, and she bleated in frustration, tugging and twisting without success. For a moment, Ayaan hesitated. He had heard the adults mutter about how wild this goat was. But something about the way she struggled, her desperation, her fear, made him move. He set his stick down and approached slowly, whispering soft words to calm her. Chandni froze, her dark eyes wide and wary. Gently, Ayaan knelt and worked the branches free from her leg. It took time, and he earned a few scratches on his hands, but finally Chandni was free. She didn't bolt away as he expected. Instead, she stood there, regarding him curiously, as if trying to understand why he had helped her. Then, in a sudden burst of affection, she nuzzled his arm before trotting off into the fields. Ayaan watched her go, a strange warmth blooming in his chest. For the first time in months, he smiled without forcing it. From that day onward, Chandni became a regular part of Ayaan's life. She began to appear wherever he went, always at a careful distance at first. Sometimes she would watch him from behind a tree. Other times, she would follow him down the dusty paths, her hooves making soft clopping sounds. Ayaan started bringing her little offerings, handfuls of fresh grass, scraps of roti, sometimes even a small carrot stolen from his mother's kitchen. Chandni accepted these gifts with great dignity, never snatching or biting, only dipping her head in what Ayaan imagined was gratitude. In return, she became his silent companion. When he sat by the river throwing stones into the water, Chandni would lie nearby, chewing thoughtfully. When he wandered into the woods to collect firewood, she would shadow him like a quiet guardian. He began to talk to her, awkwardly at first, then with growing ease. He told her about his dreams of seeing the world beyond the village, about how much he missed his father, about how lonely it was at night when the wind moaned against the windows. Chandni never interrupted, never laughed or judged. She simply listened, her ears twitching now and then, as if absorbing every word. Their bond deepened with every passing day, a secret friendship forged in kindness and need. Ayaan knew he could not tell his mother about Chandni. She would scold him for wasting time, warn him against getting too attached to a creature that didn't even belong to them. The goat technically belonged to the village headman, though everyone had long since given up trying to claim ownership of her. So Ayaan kept their meetings secret, tucking them away like precious treasures. One evening, as the sun bled orange over the fields, Ayaan knelt by Chandni in their usual meeting spot by the river. He placed a small garland of wildflowers around her neck, laughing softly as she shook her head in protest. "You're my best friend, Chandni," he whispered, pressing his forehead lightly against hers. The goat bleated softly, a sound so gentle that Ayaan's throat tightened. For the first time in a long while, he felt that maybe he wasn't so alone after all. Building friendship. In the weeks that followed, Ayaan and Chandni's bond grew stronger, blossoming like the wildflowers that lined the riverbanks. Their secret world expanded, stitched together with laughter, whispered dreams, and small adventures that no one else knew about. Each morning, after finishing his chores, Ayaan would slip away, a piece of roti hidden in his pocket. Chandni would be waiting for him near the old neem tree, her white coat shining in the sunlight. She always seemed to know when he was coming, appearing from behind a bush or a bend in the path, as if by magic. Ayaan taught her small tricks he had made up himself. If he whistled twice, Chandni would trot toward him. If he tapped the ground 3 times with his stick, she would rear up on her hind legs and spin clumsily. Each success brought Ayaan a burst of joy, a feeling of pride he rarely felt at home or school. They explored the edges of the village together, through the sunflower fields that stretched like golden oceans, into the woods where the trees whispered secrets, and along the river that curved like a silver snake across the land. Sometimes they chased butterflies, laughing and bleating together. Sometimes they simply sat in silence, content in each other's company. One afternoon, while exploring a shaded part of the woods, Ayaan nearly stepped on a snake coiled in the grass. It hissed, its forked tongue flashing. Ayaan froze in terror, his heart hammering against his ribs. Before he could move, Chandni charged forward, stomping and butting at the snake with her head. Startled, the snake slithered away into the undergrowth. Ayaan dropped to his knees, hugging Chandni tightly. "You saved me," he whispered, burying his face in her fur. After that, his love for Chandni was no longer just friendship. It was loyalty, deep and fierce, like a soldier for his comrade. But not everyone viewed their friendship so kindly. It didn't take long for the villagers to notice that Ayaan was spending more time wandering the fields and woods than helping with chores or studying his lessons. Rumors began to swirl. Some said he was wasting time. Others warned that he was leading the goat into more mischief. One evening, as Ayaan returned home with Chandni trailing behind at a safe distance, he found his mother waiting for him at the door, arms crossed, her face tight with worry. "You're neglecting your work, Ayaan," she said sternly. "You must focus on your studies. You know your father wanted you to have a better life than this." Her voice softened slightly, but the message was firm. "You can't spend all your time with animals. They won't help you build a future." Ayaan opened his mouth to protest, but found no words. How could he explain that Chandni wasn't just an animal to him, that she filled the silent spaces in his heart no one else seemed to hear? "I understand, Amy," he said quietly, lowering his eyes. That night, as he lay on his thin mattress, staring at the cracked ceiling, Ayaan felt torn between 2 worlds. One was the world of expectations, of schoolbooks, chores, and silent meals. The other was the world he had built with Chandni, a world of friendship, laughter, and trust. He thought about his father, who used to say, "Ayaan, real strength is keeping your promises, even when it's hard." Under the blanket of night, Ayaan made a silent vow. No matter what happened, no matter how busy life became, he would never abandon Chandni. She had saved him when he was too afraid to move. She had filled his loneliness with warmth. He owed her his loyalty. The next day, Ayaan was more careful. He helped his mother fetch water and completed his schoolwork before sneaking away to meet Chandni. He didn't want to give anyone more reasons to keep them apart. When they met by the river, Ayaan sat down beside her, plucking blades of grass and weaving them into a clumsy bracelet. Chandni nudged his shoulder, as if sensing his sadness. "I can't see you as much anymore," he said softly, "but I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere." Chandni responded with a soft bleat, pressing her head against his chest. Ayaan tied the grass bracelet loosely around one of her horns, grinning through the lump in his throat. "There, now you'll remember me, even when I'm not here." The sun dipped low, painting the sky in shades of gold and purple. As Ayaan watched Chandni graze nearby, A sense of peace settled over him. Life was changing, pulling him in directions he couldn't always control. But some things he knew were worth holding on to. Friendship, loyalty, a promise made under the stars. And most of all, the quiet, steady heartbeat of a goat who had become his family. The great storm and the lost goat. The monsoon winds came earlier than expected that year, sweeping across Maramper with a wildness the villagers had not seen in a long time. The skies darkened with heavy clouds, and the air smelled of rain and distant thunder. People rushed to secure their homes, tying down roofs with ropes and gathering their animals into sheltered pens. Ayaan sat by the small window of his house, staring out at the churning sky. His heart was heavy with worry. Chandni hated being confined, and he feared that she might try to escape the pen, just as she had so many times before. By late afternoon, the first drops fell, fat, heavy, and cold. Within minutes, the rain became a roar, beating against the earth with relentless fury. The fields turned into lakes of mud, and the narrow village paths became rushing streams. The river, once a gentle ribbon across the land, swelled and snarled, its waters brown and angry. "Ayaan, stay inside," his mother shouted over the noise, her voice sharp with fear. She bolted the door and placed heavy stones against it. "No matter what you hear or see, you must not go out." Ayaan nodded silently, but his mind was not on the house, or the rain, or even the rising river. It was with Chandni, out there, somewhere, scared and alone. Hours passed. The storm raged on, shaking the walls of their small home. Ayaan huddled in a corner, clutching the old shawl his father had left behind. Every crack of thunder felt like a blow to his chest. Then, between the howls of the wind, he heard it, a faint bleating. His heart leapt. "Chandni!" Without thinking, Ayaan sprang to his feet. His mother was asleep in a chair, exhausted from the day's labor and worry. Ayaan slipped on his sandals, grabbed the small lantern from the shelf, and unbolted the door. The rain hit him like a wall, soaking him to the bone in seconds. He shielded the flickering lantern with his hand and pushed forward into the night. "Chandni!" he shouted, his voice torn away by the wind. "Where are you?" The village was unrecognizable. Trees were bent nearly in half, and debris floated down the flooded paths. Ayaan stumbled through the mud, his feet sinking with every step, calling out again and again. Finally, near the riverbank, he saw her. Chandni was trapped at the edge of the swollen river, caught between two fallen trees. The water licked hungrily at her hooves, and she struggled desperately to climb the slippery bank. Ayaan's stomach twisted with fear. One wrong move, and she would be swept away. "Hold on, Chandni!" he cried, dropping the lantern to the ground and sprinting toward her. The mud sucked at his legs, and rain blinded his eyes, but he pressed on. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his belt, quickly tying one end around a sturdy tree trunk. Taking a deep breath, he edged his way down the slippery bank, the belt his only anchor. "Easy, girl," he soothed, reaching for her. Chandni bleated weakly, her eyes wide with fear. With trembling hands, Ayaan grabbed hold of her collar and pulled. She scrambled, slipping and sliding, but together they gained a few inches. Another pull, another desperate lunge. Finally, with a last heave, Chandni scrambled up the bank, collapsing onto the grass. Ayaan fell beside her, gasping for air, his body trembling with cold and relief. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The rain pounded down, the river roared, and the wind tore at the trees. But in that small patch of earth, there was only the boy and the goat, clinging to life and to each other. Ayaan wrapped his arms around Chandni's soaked body, burying his face in her fur. She was shivering but alive. "We're okay," he whispered over and over. "We're okay." The storm continued to rage through the night, but Ayaan and Chandni found shelter beneath a large fallen tree. Huddled together, they shared what little warmth they had, the bond between them stronger than ever. As dawn approached, the storm finally began to fade. The wind softened to a sigh, and the rain thinned to a drizzle. The first gray light of morning revealed a village battered but standing. A group of villagers, led by the headman, found Ayaan and Chandni shortly after sunrise. They were stunned by what they saw. The small boy, mud-caked and shivering, curled protectively around the goat everyone had once called a nuisance. Word of Ayaan's bravery spread quickly. In a village where strength was measured by how much a man could lift or how hard he could work the fields, Ayaan had shown a different kind of strength, courage, loyalty, and love. As they carried the boy and the goat back to the village, the elders exchanged looks of quiet respect. They understood now what Ayaan had seen all along. Some bonds were stronger than any storm. A new beginning. Life in Marampur slowly returned to normal after the great storm. The villagers worked together to rebuild broken fences, clear fallen trees, and repair damaged homes. Although the scars left by the storm were many, the spirit of the people remained unbroken, stronger, even than before. For Ayaan, everything had changed. He was no longer the lonely boy who wandered at the edges of the village. People greeted him warmly now. They clapped him on the back, ruffled his hair, and praised his bravery. Some even offered him small gifts, a new pair of sandals, a pouch of sweets, a carved wooden whistle. But the greatest change came from the village headman himself. One morning, a week after the storm, Ayaan and his mother were summoned to the headman's courtyard. It was a wide, open space shaded by an ancient banyan tree. Villagers gathered there, whispering curiously to one another. Ayaan stood nervously beside his mother, feeling small under so many watchful eyes. Chandni was by his side, her white coat gleaming in the sunlight. She had healed quickly, and now she nuzzled Ayaan's hand for comfort. The headman, a tall, broad-shouldered man with a thick white beard, stepped forward. His stern face softened into a smile as he addressed the crowd. "Today," he said, his voice carrying across the courtyard, "we honor a boy who showed us all the true meaning of courage and loyalty. When the river rose and the storm raged, it was not strength of arms that saved a life, but strength of heart." He turned to Ayaan. "You risked your life for this goat, a creature many of us dismissed as a nuisance. But you saw her worth when we did not. You reminded us that every life matters, no matter how small." The headman bent down, placing a firm hand on Ayaan's shoulder. "From this day forward, Chandni belongs to you, Ayaan. She is yours, not just in spirit, but in name and law." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Ownership of an animal, even a mischievous one like Chandni, was no small matter for a poor family. It was a gift of trust, responsibility, and respect. Ayaan's eyes widened. He looked at his mother, who nodded through tears, her face shining with pride. Then he turned to Chandni, who blinked up at him with gentle trust. "Thank you," Ayaan whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "I promise to take care of her always." The villagers cheered, and for the first time, Ayaan felt truly seen. Not as a burden, not as a poor farmer's son, but as someone who mattered. From that day, Ayaan took his responsibilities seriously. He built a small shelter for Chandni behind their house, carefully weaving a roof from palm leaves and patching the sides with mud and wood. Every morning, before school, he fed her fresh grass and brushed her coat until it shone. Chandni, in turn, followed him everywhere, her loyalty unshakable. She waited patiently outside the schoolhouse until his lessons ended, and at home, she curled up outside his door, a silent guardian through the night. In school, Ayaan began to apply the same determination he had shown during the storm. He listened closely to his teachers, worked hard at his lessons, and dreamed bigger dreams than ever before. He imagined one day becoming a veterinarian, someone who cared for all animals, not just goats, but horses, cows, and even the stray dogs that roamed the village streets. It wasn't just Ayaan who changed. The villagers, too, softened in ways small and large. They became kinder to their animals, building better pens and offering more care. Children, inspired by Ayaan's story, began forming friendships with the animals around them, seeing in them not just workers or nuisances, but companions and teachers. Seasons changed. The monsoon rains gave way to golden autumns and crisp winters. Ayaan grew taller, his shoulders broader, his hands stronger. But no matter how much he grew, he never outgrew Chandni. One evening, As the sun dipped low over the fields, Ayaan sat beside Chandni near the river. Their river. The same place where their friendship had begun. The water flowed gently now, whispering secrets over smooth stones. Fireflies danced in the growing dusk. Ayaan leaned back against the old neem tree and smiled. You know, he said, stroking Chandni's soft ears, I used to think I needed to leave this village to find a better life. But maybe it's not about where you go. Maybe it's about who you have beside you. Chandni bleated softly in agreement. And there, under the first stars of evening, boy and goat sat together. Two hearts bound not by words or promises, but by something far stronger. Love, loyalty, and the quiet certainty that they would always find their way, as long as they had each other. It was not just a friendship. It was a new beginning.